Welcome to Lancaster Community Television Station. I'm Ethan. I'm here with the one and only Mrs. Susan Springsteen, a woman who's an entrepreneur, making an impact in communities at large, and more importantly, she's giving back to those in need. How are you doing, Susan?
Ethan, it is great to be here. I'm so excited to be speaking with you this morning.
I am too. I'm pretty sure you had good breakfast. I'm pretty sure you did your little morning exercise. And today's a special day. So maybe tell me about your experience in high school education.
I went to Concord High School in Wilmington, Delaware. It was a public high school, so I had sort of your basic, typical high school experience. I wasn't really involved in school sports. I was a horse nut. I absolutely love horses, so I spent every waking moment that I wasn't in school on the back of a horse. And then I also worked at the local McDonald's, which was my first quote-unquote real job other than babysitting or things like that, doing errands. So between work and I studied just basic studies, a little bit of everything, physics, math. I got all the way to calculus, which thrilled me. History. So it was a very varied school experience. But most of it was centered around my horses from a social level.
Since you have a mind for math, you probably were one of the best math students in your high school ever. To learn calculus, that's a very challenging subject. Doing a step-by-step process, and then if one step's off, well, the whole problem's off. And then horseback riding, that's a lot of horse feeding, training, and make sure you have a bareback cushion. That way there's safety precautions. And the horse is like a dog. It can feel who is able to be a natural and also who is inexperienced. And speaking of experience, what influenced you to pursue a higher education in college at Wheaton College?
I think I just want to talk a little bit about calculus for a minute in math. One of the reasons I wanted to take calculus was I heard that the calculus teacher was the hardest teacher in the school, and I wanted to see if I could ace her class. So it wasn't my love for math. I didn't even know that I had an affinity for math. I was just really determined to get an A in the class of the hardest teacher in the school. So that was my motivation. When I got into calculus, though, she was so smart and very down to earth, and I did really well in the class, enough to test out of a semester of calculus in college. I got an A in the class, and I worked so hard. But the big thing I learned from her, it was the first time I realized it was cool for a woman to be good in math. Because remember, this is a long time ago. This was 1977. So then, it wasn't, women weren't as involved in math-oriented careers as they are now. So that made a huge impact on my life. And then going on to college, at that time, that's what you really wanted to do, because unlike today, where there are so many opportunities for folks that don't attend a four-year traditional college, back then, if you were a woman and you wanted to move ahead in a career, you really needed a four-year degree. So I decided to go to Wheaton College. It's a Christian liberal arts college. I'm a Christian. I take my faith really seriously, so I wanted to go to a school where it was not only a really good school academically, but it also would help me grow in my faith, and I would meet other like-minded students. So that's how I went to college, and that's where I ended up.
You certainly have come a long way from high school. You earned that college credit in high school. She inspired you to become not only a better person, but also become a woman of high prestige. And here you went from McDonald's to your own office space and to your own business, where you became an entrepreneur. May you tell me what influenced you to become an entrepreneur?
I've always had that tendency. When I was in high school, I held carnivals in our backyard and had games and pony rides and things like that. So that was my sort of a little side business that I had. And I wasn't even 12 years old when I started that. So I've always had kind of little side hustles trying to make money, partially because I always wanted to have my own horse, and horses are expensive. So you'll see there's a horse theme throughout my whole life. Horses are expensive, and we didn't have a lot of money, so that meant I needed to earn it myself. And there's nothing like having a dream to motivate you to get outside your comfort zone and figure out ways to make that happen. Just to dive just a little bit back to high school again, it's really what was great about testing out of calculus in college was that really saved me a lot of money and a lot of time because I didn't have to take that class. You know, college is expensive. So to the extent that when you're in high school, or even if you can take AP classes and things like that, you can actually save yourself a lot of money, or maybe sometimes be able to graduate a semester early or a year early and move on to your next phase in life if you really apply yourself and have that discipline. One thing that I learned from horses is the idea of delaying immediate gratification because I want a better result down the road. So if you're training a horse, you've got to think long term because it takes a long time to train a horse to do certain things. And it's the same thing in life. If you can work hard and discipline yourself, you may have to give up a little bit of social life, or you may not be able to buy something you want because you need to invest your money in your career or your education or something else. But you delay your gratification, you can actually accomplish much more down the road. So and then coming back to the question of why I wanted to be an entrepreneur is that my initial career was in the investment business. I spent 25 years managing money and doing corporate finance type transactions, buying and selling companies, doing bond issues, things like that, but mostly managing money. And when you're in the investment business, you have to create your own clientele. So I learned how to sell my services, and it wasn't really my own business because I was working for another company, but because I was paid according to just plain commission and fees, it gave me a taste of what it might be like to have my own business. And so later in life, when I wanted to move on to creating jobs for folks and having a greater impact in my community, I decided to start my own business, and that was in 2006. And it wasn't as big a leap as it may have been if I was in a more traditional career to start with.
Yes, definitely. You get to learn the corporate world, but also making your transition to entrepreneurship where you become your own boss, where you're usually the first person in and usually the last person out. And everyone is looking for you for the inspiration, the guidance, the wisdom, and the leadership. And it has its perks of making sure you do things that you're going to do, but you're not going to have an employee do something you wouldn't want to do. And you can tell in your story about how you got started, but more importantly, how you evolved over time. May you tell me what was your biggest achievements in your life? I know you graduated from high school, college, and of course, having birthdays.
I think one of my, wow, that's hard to pick one. One of my early achievements was during college. I actually changed my major my senior year. I was a biochemistry major for 3 years, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I was very frustrated because everyone else seemed to have a great plan. And it seemed like everybody else knew what they wanted to do. They wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher or something. They had a clear path, and I didn't. And I was panicked that I would end up wasting my life because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So about 3 years when I was over Christmas of my junior year, I had to take my fruit flies home over Christmas to count their eye types for genetics class. And I just hit a tipping point, and I said, forget it, I'm done with this. And I quit school. So I ended up staying out of school and working until the following September. I was a waitress, decided that probably wasn't what I wanted to do for my career, so I went back to school. I changed my major my senior year to business and economics. I had no course overlap, and I ended up graduating on time. So that was a huge accomplishment. And you talk about focus and commitment, working really, really hard and studying late into the evening. I did it, but I was able to graduate on time. The next thing was I love horses. I wanted to train a horse from just the very beginning of when a horse is just sat on for the first few times, all the way up through to being an Olympic level dressage horse, a Grand Prix dressage horse. So I was able to do that with my horse Finale, and we earned our United States Dressage Federation gold medal for our performances at the Grand Prix level, which is the test they use for the Olympics. So that was also a huge accomplishment that I'm very proud of, and I have national titles and things like that. Then finally in the career is just, I was able to do a really good job managing money for folks, so they were able to feed their families, send their kids to school, go on vacations, fund businesses, and that was a big accomplishment. My biggest accomplishment, though, is here growing End Solutions and H2O Connected, because when you have your own business, you can impact people in a way that's over and above what traditionally what you can do as an employee, because you get to set the culture of the firm, you get to hire people you want, but you're going to work so hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. It's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And I think in the end, that's going to be my greatest achievement. I
totally agree. Achievements are requiring a commitment, dedication, and seeing ourselves cross the finish line before we actually do. Because the life of success is a marathon, not a sprint. Because in a marathon, we have to be willing to endure things for the long run while we build our building blocks in small steps, and eventually everything builds up. And you are involved in the communities at large. May you tell me what you like about being a volunteer?
Mark Twain said something I took to heart that says the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you found out why. And I think, our why for a living is for it to really give us a sense of satisfaction is other-oriented, not self-oriented. I spent a lot of years just wanting to make money and buy things and have a great lifestyle and for myself, and that was all fun, but it was fleeting. And to have a really lasting impact, you want your life to have a sense of purpose. And I really feel that God puts everybody here on the planet for his own, we all have our specific purpose, and so you want to find that purpose. And for mine, it takes all the things I've learned and the people I've met and my experiences, and it rolls it into who I am today and how I can impact the city of Coatesville and my employees and my investors. And so we've decided to move our incubate businesses and move our product development company into the city of Coatesville to be a part of building a 20,000 square foot new facility on the west end of Coatesville, and to be involved in revitalization of the town and providing good paying jobs with benefits and teaching people how to be entrepreneurs that are residents of the city, so that the city can have this vibrant economic vitality, but that will be across the board. It'll be the current community, it'll be new people coming in, and so we can help combat homelessness, so we can help help people be first-time home buyers, and give a real sense of pride and hope for the city. So that's and then I also just volunteer. You see a need, you want to fill it. If you can fill it, you'd want to fill it. So it's really a way of leaving a legacy through impacting other people. And it is just very, very, very rewarding.
I totally agree. Giving back to the community is very vital towards giving people opportunities, but also allow them to see their purpose for their life. Because when they find their purpose, they end up finding their gifts, and they end up creating a positive cycle to where they can reach one, teach one. And as a result, you've created a more vibrant community that prides itself more on local jobs, local business owners, and the community stays intact from the very core. Since capital, of course, is Washington, D.C., you got an invitation to the White House. You were very proud of the invite. Will you tell me about that experience of visiting the White House?
Wow, it was an unbelievable day. I was invited because we are involved in the Qualified Opportunity Zone initiative in Coatesville. We were early adopters. Qualified Opportunity Zones were part of the 2017 Tax Act that allowed certain distressed areas to be labeled as QOZs, we call them. And so investors in QOZs get certain tax benefits, but it's structured so that the intent is to help the whole community. It's not just to give investors' tax benefits. They want to make sure that the community benefits as well. So we like that holistic approach, and we became involved in it. Back in August, when the Council of Economic Advisors released its impact study on opportunity zones for the first 2 years of the initiative, I was invited to come down to the White House and talk to the press and talk to them about our qualified opportunity zone business, H2O Connected, and the real estate project at 190 West Lincoln Highway, and what I was seeing as boots on the ground in a qualified opportunity zone. So I got to meet some just fabulous thought leaders down there. It's really amazing to be a part of that brain power and to hear the conversations, how everybody really gets along and works together, and how community-minded they are. This group sincerely wants to see these areas get revitalized, and they want to see it happen broadly. They want to see an increase in first-time home ownership. They want to see an increase in businesses, especially minority-owned businesses. There's a big focus on because minority-owned businesses, whether it's women or Latinos or African-American community or whatever, we all struggle to get capital. It's much harder. And so how do you provide capital to these businesses? How do we help them grow so that the economic revitalization is real and lasting, and people have hope, and then they can grow their independence, and then their children are in a better place, and their grandchildren are in a better place, and it just changes the cycle. So it was really great to be a part of all those discussions, and to it's an amazing place. And if you ever get a chance to visit, I would certainly recommend it.
I visited the White House, but I was more in a situation where the closest I got was the gates. Yeah, I remember seeing the monuments, seeing how towns were very vibrant in Washington, D.C., and just seeing how, one side is very world-class quality, and the other side is kind of like borderline. Then on the far end, it's kind of rough edges. But still, people have their purposes in each economic class. And of course, when you visit Washington, D.C., you not only get to see the nation's capital of all these monuments, you get to see all these stories and how everyone is making decisions that impact everyone's life in the United States and beyond. And Washington, D.C. is one of the biggest places where the decision makers are. And for your career, you love what you do, you found your purpose, you're giving other people opportunities. May you tell me what you love about your career?
The biggest thing I love about it is I can use my talents and gifts to help other people. We create technologies here that save lives, save money, and preserve natural resources. So for instance, this little guy right here, this goes in a toilet tank, and it will wirelessly, and it's a smart device, and it will wirelessly tell your maintenance or whoever is managing a property whether the toilet is leaking, running, about to overflow, or otherwise wasting water, and it'll quantify how many gallons per day that the issue is costing the property owner. So it can help keep costs low, but it also helps save a very precious resource. Only 1% of the world's water is available for potable use, and so we have to really take care of it. At any given time, most of the time, 40% of the U.S. is in a moderate to severe drought. So, it's water's important. So that's one example. We also make life-saving devices, and there's all here, and so we're all about making products that improve quality of life, and it's made in America, so it's made in U.S. manufacturing by Americans. When our facility is done in Coatesville, everything's going to be made in Coatesville. So there's this circle, this ripple effect of what my partners and I can do that can help other people. And Winston Churchill says, you make a living by what you get, you make a life by what you give. And I think I've really taken that to heart. And so that's what makes working so hard so rewarding.
Yes, living a life that's rewarding has its benefits, and it's also able to help you give back to those in need and allow them to see beyond their circumstances. And of course, economics plays a key role in anybody's career. You're either the first person laid off, or you're one of the people who get the promotion and recognition, or you might have a transition of changing careers. But in all careers, it's forever evolving and things are forever changing. My name is Ethan, and this is my interview with Miss Susan Springsteen. It's been a wonderful opportunity having you here.
Thank you very much. It's really been a pleasure. I look forward to talking to you again.